Hello friends, this is Pete Birkeland. I will be reading today from the book of Job, starting in chapter 9. Then Job answered, "Truly I know that is so, but how can man be just with God? If he is pleased to contend with him, he can't answer him 1 time in 1,000. God is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Who has hardened himself against him and prospered? He removes the mountains, and they don't know it. When he overturns them in his anger, he stakes the earth out of its place. Its pillars tremble. He commands the sun, and it doesn't rise, and he seals up the stars. He alone stretches out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He makes the Bear, Orion, and the Pleiades, and the rooms of the south. He does great things past finding out. Yes, marvelous things without number. Behold, he goes by me, and I don't see him. He passes on also, but I don't perceive him. Behold, he snatches away. Who can hinder him? Who will ask him, what are you doing? God will not withdraw his anger. His helpers of Rahab stoop under him. How much less will I answer him and choose my words to argue with him? Though I were righteous, yet I wouldn't answer him. I would make supplication to my judge. If I had called and he had answered me, yet I wouldn't believe that he listened to my voice. For he breaks me with a storm and multiplies my wounds without cause. He will not allow me to catch my breath, but fills me with bitterness. It is a matter of strength. Behold, he is mighty. If of justice, who, says he, will summon me? Though I am righteous, my own mouth will condemn me. Though I am blameless, it will prove me perverse. I am blameless. I don't respect myself. I despise my life. It is all the same, therefore, that I say he destroys the blameless and the wicked. If the scourge kills suddenly, he will mock the trial of the innocent. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and he covers the face of its judges. If not he, then who is it? Now my days are swifter than a runner, that they flee away. They see no good. They have passed away as the swift ships, as the eagle that swoops on its prey. If I say, I will forget my complaint, I will pull off my sad face and cheer up. I am afraid of my sorrows. I know that you will not hold me innocent. I will be condemned. Why then do I labor in vain? If I wash myself with snow and cleanse my hands with lye, yet you will plunge me in the ditch. My own clothes will abhor me. For he is not a man, as I am, that I should answer him, that we should come together in judgment. There is no umpire between us that might lay his hand on us both. Let him take his rod away from me. Let his terror not make me afraid. Then I would speak and not fear him, for I am not so in myself." Chapter 10. My soul is weary of my life. I will give free course to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will tell God, do not condemn me. Show me why you contend with me. It is good to you that you should oppress, that you should despise the work of your hands and smile on the counsel of the wicked. Do you have eyes of flesh, or do you see as man sees? Are your days as the days of mortals, or your years as man years? That you inquire after my iniquity and search after my sin. Although you know that I am not wicked, there is no one who can deliver out of your hand. Your hands have framed me and fashioned me altogether, yet you destroy me. Remember, I beg you, that you have fashioned me as clay. Will you bring me into dust again? Haven't you poured me out like milk and curdled me like cheese? You have clothed me with skin and flesh and knit me together with bones and sinew. You have granted me life and loving kindness. Your visitation has preserved my spirit, yet you hid these things in your heart. I know that this is with you. If I sin, then you mark me. You will not acquit me from my iniquity. If I am wicked, woe to me. If I am righteous, I still will not lift up my head and being filled with disgrace and conscious of my affliction. If my head is held high, you hunt me like a lion, and you show yourself powerful to me. You renew your witness against me and increase your indignation with me. Changes and warfare are with me. Why then have you brought me out of the womb? I wish I had given up the spirit and no eye had seen me. I should have been as though I had not been. I should have been carried from the womb to the grave. Aren't my days few? Stop. Leave me alone that I may find little comfort before I go where I will not return from, to the land of darkness and the shadow of death. The land dark as midnight, of the shadow of death, without any order, where the light is as midnight. Chapter 11. Then Zophar, the Naamathite, answered, Shouldn't the multitude of the words be answered? Should a man full of talk be justified? Should your boastings make men hold their peace? When you mock, will no man make you ashamed? For you say, my doctrine is pure, I am clean in your eyes. But oh, that God would speak and open his lips against you, that he would show you the secrets of wisdom. For true wisdom has two sides. Know therefore that God exacts of you less than your iniquity deserves. Can you fathom the mystery of God? Can you probe the limits of the Almighty? They are high as heaven. What can you do? They are deeper than Sheol. What can you know? Its measure is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. If he passes by or convenes a court, then who can oppose him? For he knows false men. He sees iniquity also, even though he doesn't consider it. An empty-headed man becomes wise when a man is born as a wild donkey's colt. If you set your heart aright, stretch out your hands toward him. If iniquity is in your hand, put it far away. Don't let unrighteousness dwell in your tents. Surely then you will lift up your face without spot. Then you will be steadfast and will not fear. For you will forget your misery. You will remember it like waters that have passed away. Life will be clearer than noonday. Though there is darkness, it will be as the morning. You will be secure because there is hope. Yes, you will search and will take your rest in safety. Also, you will lie down and no one will make you afraid. Yes, many will court your favor, but the eyes of the wicked will fail. They will have no way to flee. Their hopes will be giving up of the spirit. Chapter 12. Then Job answered, No doubt, but you are the people, and wisdom will die with you. But I have the understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Yes, who doesn't know such things as these? I am like one who is a joke to his neighbor. I, who called on God, and he answered. The just, the blameless man is a joke. In the thought of him who is at ease, there is contempt for misfortune. It is ready for them whose foot slips. The tents of robbers prosper. Those who provoke God are secure, who carry their God in their hands. But ask the animals now, and they will teach you. The birds of the sky, and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you. The fish of the sea will declare to you. Who doesn't know that in all these Yahweh's hand has done this? In whose hand is the life of every living thing and the breath of all mankind? Even as the palate tastes its food, with aged men is wisdom, in length of days understanding. With God is wisdom and might. He has counsel and understanding. Behold, he breaks down, and it can't be built again. He imprisons a man, and there can be no release. Behold, he withholds the waters, and they dry up. Again, he sends them out, and they overturn the earth. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. He leads counselors away stripped. He makes judges fools. He loosens the bonds of kings. He binds their waist with a belt. He leads priests away stripped and overthrows the mighty. He removes the speech of those who are trusted and takes away the understanding of the elders. He pours contempt on princes and loosens the belt of the strong. He uncovers deep things out of darkness and brings to light the shadows of death. He increases the nations and he destroys them. He enlarges nations and he leads them captive. He takes away understanding from the chiefs of the people of the earth and causes them to wander in a wilderness where there is no way. They grope in the dark without light. He makes them stagger like a drunken man. Chapter 13. Behold, my eye has seen all this, my ear has heard and understood it. What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you. Surely I would speak to the Almighty. I desire to reason with God. But you are forgers of lies. You are all physicians of no value. Oh, that you would be completely silent. Then you would be wise. Hear now my reasoning. I listen to the pleadings of my lips. Will you speak unrighteously for God and talk deceitfully for him? Will you show partiality to him? Will you contend for God? Is it good that he should search you out? As one deceives a man, will you deceive him? He will surely reprove you if you secretly show partiality. Won't his majesty make you afraid and his dread fall on you? Your memorable sayings are proverbs of ashes. Your defenses are defenses of clay. Be silent. Leave me alone that I may speak. Let come on me what will. Why should I take my flesh in my teeth and put my life in my hand? Behold, he will kill me. I have no hope. Nevertheless, I will maintain my ways before him. This also will be my salvation, that a godless man will not come before him. Listen carefully to my speech. Let my declaration be in your ears. See now, I have set my cause in order. I know that I am righteous. For who is he who will contend with me? For then I will hold my peace and give up the spirit. Only don't do two things to me, then I will not hide myself from your face. Withdraw your hand from me, and don't let your terror make me afraid. Then call, and I will answer. Or let me speak, and you answer me. How many are my iniquities and sins? Make me know my disobedience and my sin. Why do you hide your face and consider me your enemy? Will you harass the driven leaf? Will you pursue the dry stubble? Will you write bitter things against me and make me inherit the iniquities of my youth? You also put my feet in the stocks and mark my paths. You set a bound to the soles of my feet, though I am decaying like a rotten thing, like a garment that is moth-eaten.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to Fear into Faith Global Bible Revival, where we are on a mission to get 1 million people to read the Word of God. Don't you want to see a Bible revival, my friend? My name is Summer Day, and with me in the studio is Peter Birkeland. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Summer. How are you today?
Oh, I'm so good that sometimes I feel like it's not fair to everybody else. I get to sit here and hang out with you.
Well, I get to sit and hang out with you.
Hey, that's true.
And
True.
And I think I'm getting the better end of that deal.
You're so sweet. You're so
Thank you.
sweet. Tell the world watching who you are and where you're from.
My name's Peter Birkeland. I am from the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Born and raised in the state. Spent a few years in Texas in college. I work as an executive for a data security company, as well as work on building my faith and building my life with Christ.
And so what made a man like you say yes to this project?
Well, you asked, and who can say no to such a day?
Okay, hold on. I have asked that question to a lot of people now, and you just won. You just won. I think that's the best answer I've heard from anyone. What made you say yes? Because you asked, and no one says no to Summer Day.
Part of it is as I walk through my faith and how it's changed in the last few years, and going from a kind of a covert faith that I know to more of an overt faith, and saying, okay, I can step out there. I can see people, that are talking about their faith more openly and talking about it, and not just being someone that's saying, okay, I do this privately, I do this in a small group. And this is one of the steps I wanted to take to make that next leap into being more overt.
Amen. I love it. And you just finished recording your readings. What was that like in the studio?
It's fun because I had readings, I had one of the readings from Job. So, you're kind of almost like reading a script or a play. and as Job is going through and asking why God is challenging him and then his friends. So you get to kind of act a little bit and bring some energy that way. And then reading Ezekiel and reading Judges, more reading about how the tribes of the Israelites were going through and trying to form their nation and trying to follow God and failing, but still God is still there for them.
Yeah.
He's still says, I'm still your God and you are my people, no matter how stiff-necked and hard-hearted you become.
Ain't that true?
Yeah.
You mentioned Job, and I just have to say, so I had a love-hate relationship with that book. The first couple times I read the Bible, I was like, no, I'm in Job now. And then my best friend sat down, she unpacked Job on a Zoom call, and I realized I was kind of missing all the nuggets. Is that one of the books that you've enjoyed?
It's a hard one for me to get my hands around too, because as you go through and read it, it's not a book where you can just say, oh, I'm going to power through Job in a weekend. You need to spend days in it and reread it and then look at other source material and say, what is happening here? And I think one of the things you learn about Job, and in your faith is saying, okay, what is God really doing here to him? Why did God let the devil, in essence, use Job as an example?
Yeah.
And as we go through our faith, and especially from the Christ side of our faith, that's not how we learn and how we've been taught how Christ operates. But all of a sudden you read Job and you're like, why did he do that to them? Mm-hmm. And what is the reason that book's included in the Bible?
Yeah. I have high respect now for Job as well as Revelation. Revelation was another one. I didn't like it until I decided to sit down. I read it all in one setting, and I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. I'm highlighting and writing all the notes. So I've changed my tune now for Job and Revelation. Let's talk a little bit about why do you feel it's important for people to read the Word of God for themselves?
Well, it's how we really bring God into our lives is through the Word. The Word is what has been with us for the millennia, and how God wants us to live our lives. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that's happened, I've read the Bible cover to cover 2 or 3 times, and then I do listen to a podcast daily. But one of the things I'm starting to get now in my 4th or 5th time through it is starting to all of a sudden understand how it relates and how incorporating the stories as we read in the Old Testament, as we've started the readings, and into the New Testament of saying, okay, now I know how to bring that into my life. And you can't do that unless you really immerse yourself in the Word, take your time, not just push play while you're on the treadmill and saying, I'm reading the Bible, but really delve into, okay, what's going on here? What's being told? What is God trying to get across to me?
Yeah, amen. I think, I've never thought this before, but thinking right now, if you're just only listening to the audio or you're just only listening to the podcast and you never actually have the Word in your hand, you're missing that way through the eyes of the way that the Lord, maybe wanted you to digest it. Yeah.
Yeah, or even highlighting, writing notes, dog-earing pages, saying, oh, okay, and then when I can refer back to it, okay, this is what I mean. And then I also, tend to sometimes bounce around to different versions, right? To say, okay, what does it mean here? What are they saying here? Mm-hmm. And just trying to get a little better understanding through the different translations.
Different translations. Do you have a favorite?
I do the NIV. I do sometimes do the amplified versions in some of that. And then every so often you jump into the King James just so you can get your dots.
You jump into the King James. I read Joyce Meyer's has a good amplified. I read hers one of the years that I read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like hers. I've never felt the draw or the call to read the whole King James.
No, I think it's just hard, just in the way we process the language and the way we've learned to read and how we read, in our daily lives. It does make it harder to read the King James version.
Yeah. If only we were all so eloquent and divine as the King James in our regular life. So tell me a little bit more about you and your sort of journey of faith, your journey with God. Were you born and raised in the church?
I was. I grew up in a small town, about 800 people in northern Minnesota. Went to church religiously.
800 is a small town.
Yeah, it was. In the summers, it was a summer place. It
Was
was
it Morristown? Is that
it was a one stoplight town.
a one stoplight town? Okay.
So we did have a stoplight, and that. But in the summer it was a tourist area. In the summer you'd get thousands of people there, so it was seasonal, but it was still small. I grew up there in the church. Thinking about what was my faith like growing up, and a lot of what faith was don't do this, don't go to hell, don't violate the law of God, don't do all of that, and it did have an impact on me, and probably the biggest one is when I went to Disney World when I was 5, and went on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and he goes through hell, and I came out, and I remember I was screaming,
Well, we have to
crying.
share for people who maybe never been on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Maybe they've never been to Disneyland.
Right.
It's kind of all fun, and it's laughter and ha ha ha, and he's driving the car, and everything's good, and then you turn the corner this way, and it almost feels like I just went down the wrong corner.
Right, and I don't remember it, and I remember coming out.
Suddenly, Mr. Toad is in hell.
Yes, and it came out, and since I was 5 years old, 6 years old.
Okay, we're going to pause you right there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about what that is right after we come back. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
All right.
So we'll go right back. Peter Birkeland, and you're telling us about how you went on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which is happy and go lucky, and then suddenly, and then Mr. Toad goes to hell, and it's actually pretty crazy. And then the ride kind of ends. It ends pretty quick after that.
Yeah, and you're sent right out, and you come out, and I remember,
Oh, I have to tell you this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
We used to play jokes on people. I'm just remembering this now.
Okay.
Our favorite thing was when we had Fred, because I lived in California. I lived 45 minutes from Disneyland. I went to Disneyland at least probably 25, 50 times before I graduated college. We started telling people that we went to heaven. We would start telling people, which room did you go to? We were in heaven, and then this is what happens, and they sing this song. And people were like, oh, I went to hell. We're like, oh, do you want to write it again? Let's see which way you go.
Yes.
And we would always play jokes with new people and tell them that we went to heaven. Oh, my gosh, we were wicked. We were wicked children. That's what we used to do to people all the time. Is take them on Toad's Wild Ride, but tell them that our car went to heaven, which doesn't happen. Okay, so back to your story.
Okay, so now let me process that. I got to probably And so as you came out of the ride, I remember, I'm 5 years old, and I'm screaming, and there's people laughing, and that. But
they know.
Yeah, they know. Oh, look at you, scared him. But part of that, though, it goes back to kind of how you say, okay, how were you brought up in your faith? It's don't go to hell. Don't do these things. Don't. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that's changed in the last few years is no, it's not. Don't do these things. Go make disciples. Go be out there. Go proselytize about your faith. Go about things that have happened to you, and how God has shown up in your life. Don't hide your light under a bushel. Mm-hmm. And I think that's but I had a wonderful church life. We had a great minister. He was a great guy. He had the largest gun collection of anyone I've known.
A minister with the largest gun collection.
Yeah, and and that would be part of our confirmation class every once in a while.
Oh, fun!
We'd go over and say, "Here, look at what I've got," including he was a missionary in Africa, and he had a blowgun.
Wow!
So he pulled that out, but he was a wonderful man, and did instill my faith in me. But it's just so much different, and really, I think, better what I've come through the last few years.
Tell me more about that. So what shifted? You were raised in a church where there was a lot of don't do this, don't do that. You got scared out of your wits at 5 about not going to hell.
Right.
But when did your relationship and stuff and your views kind of change?
A little looking back on it, I think a lot of things in my life it's been there, and I just haven't recognized it until I've started to pull things together. my father passed away when I was 20, and that was traumatic, and how I dealt with it was okay. It wasn't great, but going through that, then understanding that had to happen to get my faith to where it is today, and to go through these things, and to go through my bout with cancer.
Did you have a kind of a crisis of faith or anything?
No, not really.
Dad passed away?
No, it was more kind of not a crisis of faith, more of like an indifference of just saying, yeah, I'm saved, I'm there. But being able to sit there and say, yeah, but I'm really not one of the saved people. I know I'm saved, but there's other people that are better than me. And you kind of just feel that, you're lesser in the eyes of God. And which is incorrect, right? We're all equal. We're all loved equally. Yeah. There's infinite love. But then I think as I went through my cancer, I had cancer.
You can't just say, I went through my cancer, la, 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 and breeze past that. We got to talk about that. What kind of cancer?
I had testicular cancer in 2000. And I got the diagnosis, and I was like, okay, I'm healed. I know I'm going to go through this. I didn't believe, for some reason, I was like, okay, I'm going to beat this. And we did. And, we went through the surgery, 30 days of radiation, and okay, you're done. It hadn't spread. It hadn't, it was caught early. And I was like, okay. And we go forward, and like, I believe that, God protected me and healed me. Now, I didn't maybe feel that way at the time. I maybe felt, I have a little more control over this. But now I look back and say, no, I do believe that I was protected. And then, probably the one that as we're going through this faith transformation, seeing then about a year and a half ago when I had atrial fibrillation.
You had what?
Atrial fibrillation.
What is that? I don't know if I've ever even heard that word.
So I went in to get a procedure done, and you start with one nurse and you wind up with 5.
Well, that's when you got. Yeah. When you start with 1 and end up with 5 is when you know something is probably not going as it should.
Right. And they said, well, are you okay? I said, yeah, why? I said, well, your resting heart rate's 150 beats a minute.
150.
Yeah. So what it
is not good.
Yeah. So AFib, as it's called,
What's the normal resting rate?
60.
Normal is 60?
Yeah, 60.
Wow.
So my heart was in essence out of rhythm, and it was inefficiently beating, which results in stroke. So we went through all these procedures. I had to go through a couple procedures to get my heart shocked back into rhythm. And, and it was caught quick enough. It was caught within, the 2 or 3 months of it happening. So my heart muscle was damaged in that. But we started, Liz, my wife, and I, we got people praying for us, and we prayed and believed. And I told her, I said, I'll be healed. I'm healed. I know I am. And so we went through the procedure, and the doctor told me it'll be 6 months until you're healed. Your muscle, it'll get there, but it'll take 6 months. So I had 26 days later, I had a follow-up procedure to check my heart, and he comes in and says, your heart's 100% healed.
Whoa! In 26 days.
In 26 days, yeah. And I said, and he was a little shocked. He's like, oh, well, this happens. I'm like, but you could tell he's like, okay, this didn't seem to make a lot of sense. But I'm like, no, it makes sense. And so through prayer, through my belief, through my provision, I believe I was healed. And I think that moved my faith to say, okay, and doing things like, interacting with you and, interacting with our other coaches and my wife and all the things she's doing. It's moved me to say, no, it's not a don't faith, it's a do faith.
Ooh,
and becoming more,
good.
And becoming
more
active.
Faith, it's a do faith.
Yeah, and becoming more active. And that's what I look to do now going forward, is be more active and doing things like this.
Things like this.
Which I would have never done 2 years ago.
Never 2 years ago would you have done this. So it's just kind of been experience after experience after experience.
You can check out the rest of this interview right here or by going to BibleRevival.tv. And if this show has blessed you, you can help us bless others by partnering with us for as little as $20 a month and help us to expand the reach of this show. We'd also like to invite you to join our Kingdom Discipleship Program, where you have an opportunity to get on weekly Bible Zoom calls with us and people around the world to deep dive into His Word. And you can check all that out at BibleRevival.tv. I'll see you next time, my friend.